East Africa, a prominent strategist for Kenya's opposition, who has strongly criticized President Uhuru Kenyatta and called for some parts of the country to secede, was released on Monday after being briefly detained on suspicion of inciting violence. Kenya's public prosecutor said on Twitter that D had been released on police bond and that appropriate action will be taken after investigations are completed. Pro-democracy group said his arrest raised concerns about freedom of expression. Opposition leader Ralia Odinga condemned the arrest, saying it is designed to intimidate and fragment Kenyans. Uhuru Kenyatta won a repeat presidential election on October 26th that was boycotted by Odinga. Odinga said the election commission had failed to carry out sufficient reforms, and he now maintains that Kenyatta's election was a sham and his rule is illegitimate. He has vowed to bring the government down through the power of the people. So, what does the future hold for the East African nation? For some thoughts on that, I'm joined in studio by Jared Okelo. He's a member of parliament from the opposition Orange Democratic Movement. Honorable Okelo, member of parliament from Ralia Nyando constituency. We are happy to have you with us in the studio.
Thank you, Vincent.
So just mentioned, first, David Ndii, that is his full name, has been released. First, do you see any kind of trend in the coming days where actually members of the opposition could be arrested for expressing themselves?
Well, thank you, Vincent. This is not a new phenomenon in the Republic of Kenya. It began days preceding the 8th of August elections, an election that was impugned and vitiated by the Supreme Court. So we have seen constant harassment by the police with the directives from the Jubilee top administration. All these that we have seen are pointers towards intimidation and instilling fear on Kenyans who have continually asked for freedom and electoral justice. That has been thwarted by Jubilee, Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto, and the coterie around them. But, you know, democracy is not easy to attain, and it doesn't belong to those who are fearful.
Now, there are some, of course, who are looking forward to the 12th of December. Right. And, of course, some would say that is a very important day to them, those who are supporters of the opposition leader, Ralia Odinga. First, what do you think that the kind of message that sends, that Ralia Odinga will be sworn in by the people on a holiday, on a public national holiday in Kenya?
Well, you did allude to the arrest of Brother Ndii. Ndii had gone to Mombasa at a time when he had just been empaneled as part of the committee that will be steering the People's Assembly's composition with the hallmarks of swearing in of Ralia Odinga as president on the 12th of August. Now, firstly, Ndii was arrested without a arrest warrant. There was no search warrant as well. He was abducted by police officers, driven to Nairobi. His wife and family abandoned in Mombasa. And you know, all these are meant to, you know, dissuade Kenyans to deluded into thinking that that is something that cannot actually happen. But this is what will happen on the 12th. Ralia Odinga has stated it quite categorically, together with his team, that the Constitution is supreme. And the Constitution, or rather the constitutional part that gives him the latitude to be sworn into office, is derived from Article 1, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, which actually says that the sovereignty is, the sovereign power is bestowed on the Kenyan people, but can only be exercised through duly elected representatives. But and Kenyans are therefore donating that sovereignty to their duly.
But let's face it, Mr. Ralia Odinga did not participate in the October 26th election, and therefore didn't get elected. So does he still have the authority to be sworn in, even by the people, when he did not actually participate in an election? He's not elected.
Well, this is exactly what happened. Raila pulled out of the election, or rather abandoned the election, because the quest to have a clean electoral merchandise wasn't forthcoming. The Constitution, together with enabling laws, and the authority that was derived from the Supreme Court actually necessitated IEBC as the electoral body to stop the impending election of the 26th and carry out fresh nominations. Because one of the issues that were being raised was that we did not have sufficient time to make up to changes within the electoral body. And therefore, Raila's abandonment of the election necessitated a new fresh nomination that would then have had an election 90 days from the day he chickened out. Now, IBC, together with Jubilee, chose to read the law very selectively, proceeded with that election.
So because of time, so do we see what plans are ahead for the opposition as actually leading the country to real democracy?
Well, as I said, democracy is expensive. There are certain sacrifices that must be made in order for it to be attained. What we are saying is that the sovereign will of the people must be exercised on the 12th. And Ralia Odinga, together with the NASA fraternity, of course, when that election was carried out, only 3.5 million people were positively identified by the KIEMS machines, meaning, therefore, that out of 19.6 million voters, only 3.5 had the wherewithal, the quest to come out to vote in Uhuru Kenyatta. So that is a very harsh indictment on the legitimacy at the very ab initio of Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency. And therefore, you are not going to sideline 16.1 million people who never participated in an electoral process. And have Uhuru Kenyatta have it all.
Yeah, unfortunately, we may have to carry on with this conversation another time. Thank you very much. And we'll really try to understand even better how best to move forward, Kenya.
Thank you.
Honorable Okelo, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.